The Crane Wife. Long ago, in a small, rural village of Japan, an impoverished man with a hungry stomach and a big heart was rambling through the forest. It was a sweltering hot day. He was incredibly exhausted and was seeking some morsel of wild nourishment before he would wash his clothes in the river. He was too principled to steal from the farms, and too poor to buy food from the market. As he walked along in the blistering heat, occasionally taking refuge in the shade of the short plum tree canopy, he heard a scream. As he approached the source of the sound, he found a white crane caught in a hunter's trap. Delicately, he removed the trap from the crane's leg. Injured, yet still able to fly, the crane turned and began to fly angelically into the sky. The crane, with the light cascading upon its velvety white feathers, swooped back down. It perched on a rock and began to look into his eyes with an expression akin to fondness. The man smiled and performed a light bow. The crane, once again, took to the sky. The man had an empty belly, but not an empty heart. The white crane crevassed the sky and swooped on and over the horizon. The man felt a sense of contentment despite his hunger. The days went on, and the man continued to act with the utmost dignity and with kindness despite his impoverished conditions, surviving on morsels of food while some in the village were thriving. One day, as the sun cornered the horizon and the plum trees were in blossom, an enchanting woman elegantly strided towards his humble abode. He was sitting outside on a bale of grass, contemplating how one could get his next meal with no skills, no land, and a prideful kindness. She gently knocked on his door, and he hurried through the house from his rear garden. As the door creaked and slid open, he could feel something in his heart, a powerful passion and a powerful warmth. As he glanced into her eyes, and she glanced back, they both felt something rather enchanting. Then a soft voice with a melodical flute of the tongue gently whispered, For a long time I have watched you persevere. Your relentless kindness and your humble spirit are heartwarming. Indeed, your considerations for everyone around you and your utmost dignity are inspirational. I would like to marry you, good sir. A brief moment that felt like an eternity for both of them passed. In a most gentle manner, he replied, Such words of adoration for my daily struggle from such a beautiful woman. I should never be able to decline such a thing. Within a few days, the beautiful woman had set up a cloth weaving room in the back room. She requested her husband do his part by taking the cloth to the market and doing his best to fetch a good price. He managed on the first trip to the market to gather enough to buy more resources, some fine fruits and some rice. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks turn into months, and the months turn into years. The notoriety of the cloth had swept the province. The cloth was of such fine quality that it was said to even robe the daimyo. The couple lived humbly. They remained in his ancestors' home. They furnished the house, bought furnishings and developed the garden. They lived so happily, and they were in fact smitten in love, as they had strided together from nothing to having everything, but importantly, having each other. One day, the man began to feel comfortable in their riches. He began to indulge in the finest fruits, the finest rice grains, and enjoy the finest sake. He and his beautiful wife would regularly chow down on some of the greatest catches of the sea with the most voluptuous wasabi, spending the weekends at onsen retreats. Life became luxurious. The man became comfortable, yet as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, and the months turned into years, his comfort mutated into greed. In this state he became more and more curious as to how his wife was able to weave in such a magnificent manner. He had always respected her request to let her weave in solitude alone in her weaving room. In his mind, if he could only learn more about her techniques, he could recruit more weavers and increase his wealth tenfold. He slowly slid the door open. He slowly peeked his head through the open door, despite his wife's request for solitude. What he saw was overwhelming. He saw his wife transforming into a white crane and plucking her own feathers to thread the cloth. Heartbroken by his betrayal, the beautiful woman, as softly as the day she arrived, said, "You have betrayed me, and I cannot stay with such a man who cannot respect my privacy, especially when one has worked so hard to better our lives and loved you so intensely." The white crane, on a hot day when the sun cornered the horizon and the plum blossoms were in bloom, ascended into the sky and swooped down on and over the horizon. The white crane was never to be seen by the man again. The man lived a long life, suffering heartbreak and regret, realizing his greed and his lack of gratitude for the beautiful wife he once had, and realized that a woman's privacy and respect are vital for the dignity of a lady as fine as her. He had betrayed her trust. She sought not to ever let him know that she was the white crane god. She wanted a humble love from a humble man. With a heart as big as his, there was a vast emptiness and regret.